So, good morning, Academy, and thanks for joining us today. Real special guest with us today, Greg Voigt. Greg is a former CFL lineman of the year, All-Star. Is that correct, Greg, as well? A couple times?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah,
Twice. Yeah.
very good. And came in from Michigan. Is that where you played your ball at
Yeah, Central
university?
Michigan University.
And then played for a lot of years with the Eskimos and a couple of years with the Ticats. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. So listen, how does a guy from Poland, where football is so popular, how did just take me through those high school years and how did football come into your life?
Well, it's pretty funny. It's a funny story. I was actually a basketball kid growing up. My mother and my aunt both played on the Polish women's national basketball team, and it wasn't until I got to high school where I even put a helmet on for the first time in my life. I all it was a football coach that also coached basketball to kind of hit me at, like, if you're gonna play basketball, I should go try out for the football team. And if it wasn't for him telling me to do that in ninth grade, then I don't think I would have been in kind of the situation I am right now. But that just kind of snowballed, and eventually the interest of football started to surpass the interest of basketball. And yeah, I was very fortunate and blessed to receive a scholarship down south to play football there, and then kind of kept snowballing. And then luckily, I got to finish my career with a Grey Cup in Edmonton.
Yeah, that's cool. Those high school teachers are so important. I was actually my two high school teachers were both former Argos. One Bill Myers and one Crazy Legs Curtis, both from the '50s. And I didn't get your height and nor your talent, so but I love football. But that they play such an influential role. Tell me, you're graduating from high school now. You've got some options. You said you got a scholarship down in Michigan. Is that right?
Yeah, so I received a scholarship to Central Michigan University. It was a great place as far as picking a place to go, and I thought it would be a perfect fit for me, let alone it wasn't too far away from home. It was around a 5-hour drive, so if you ever get homesick and wanted to see mom, it's not, you hop in a car and be home for the weekend.
Yeah.
But I got to spend 5 years there, got to meet some great people, some great friends, lifelong friends, great teammates. We had lots of success there. My last year, we ended up finishing 25th in the country, which is the highest our school's ever been ranked. We won a couple MAC championships as well as going to some bowl games. And yeah, I got to meet some great friends that I got to play in the CFL with, and some that are still playing in the NFL right now.
All right, very cool. And I was taking a look at your bio. I hope you don't mind. I love to find out about guys before I chat with them. Were you a captain down there in Michigan as well?
Yeah, I was a captain my senior year.
Yeah. And so, tell me a little bit about that sort of leadership piece. Is that something that you wore easily or reluctantly?
Well, that's one thing I've always believed is kind of leading by example. Is I felt that just always doing, I feel like always just doing your job every year was one thing that kind of kept me focused for the first years of going to university, and just making sure that, I had all the things done that I wouldn't necessarily need to always be the one that's catching up to everyone, that is always leading by example, and people could follow me by not necessarily what I said, but what I did. Yeah. And I feel that naturally set me in a good position where towards my senior year, I was in kind of a state where I was able to lead guys because they've seen me do it throughout the time. So they felt confident in me leading them into games and into battle in a sense.
Very cool. So then you come up to the CFL, and you played with Edmonton. Can you tell me a little bit about, you're just starting, you're signing your first pro contract. Did you envision football going on forever, or did you already have a sense that this was a time-limited opportunity?
That's one thing, especially just playing through university and seeing, friends move away from the program, people get injured, that, with football, it's a blessing to play. It's such a beautiful game because it teaches you a lot of life lessons. But that's the thing, is you never know when, in a sense, your last snap is, or when, that injury comes, or when it's time to move away from the game for other personal reasons. So that's one thing I've always at least taken away from football, is to take your playing time with a grain of salt, because you never know when your time will come to step away from the game.
Yeah, fair enough. So knowing that going in, because I know a lot of the players we talk to, there's you get in that euphoria, you go in front of the people, the thousands of people, you've got the celebrity thing that could be going on. And I don't want to look downfield. I don't want to look 5 or 6 years down the road, because I'm not sure what I'm seeing. Tell me, for you, when you were in there, when did you start thinking about what you might be doing after your pro football career?
To tell you truthfully, this was something that was ongoing, because coming out of university, I still need to do a certain amount of things as far as teachers college and my profession in teaching. So I need to do my practicum, which is the in-class kind of component, and necessarily, following through with teachers and sitting in classes. And that's something I was actually doing in my off seasons. I pursued that by taking additional qualification courses and then even completing my master's in my off seasons as well. So just kind of every chance I had in the off seasons is putting little tidbits in on the resume that would help me eventually to when that time came. I wasn't starting from zero, that I was already, had my foot in the door, and I was already looked at as a viable candidate for job positions for teaching.
Yeah. And teaching went now, did you go to a school in Toronto? Did you go to OASI, U of T for Teachers College, or where'd you get?
Well, luckily, my Teachers College was done through Central Michigan University. They were able to at least support me in a sense of having someone come from, I think it was Port Huron, and being able to drive a couple hours to come see me do my student teaching in Toronto. So, yeah, they're very supportive and at least accommodating for me, living in Toronto and making their way from Michigan to at least observe my hours in the sense. And even doing my off season courses for my master's, very accommodating as far as me being able to put it on hold for 6 months when I return to the season. So they've been more than helpful with me pursuing my kind of future courses and future career possibilities.
Fair enough. And so, take me through a calendar year that you've got here, in terms of, we've got, training camp in May or June. Tell me how your pursuit of your post-football career, when it phased in and when it would phase out.
So relatively after the season would end, you're thinking right around November. That's kind of the time. I'm thinking anywhere between November. So I would take until a new year to kind of let the body heal, to take some time. And then once the new year hit, that's time to kind of, every player kind of goes through that kind of calendar of, giving some time to heal up and then get back into rigorous training. I'd also do the same thing as far as my training goes, but also use that time as far as the new year hit to kind of start pursuing my academics, as far as even getting a couple substitute teaching jobs here and there, just to kind of get my foot in the door as far as the school board, so I can meet some principals for future reference. That way, when I do begin teaching, I kind of know some people as well. All that time as well, it was very beneficial, because while I was sitting in these classes, I was able to at least have my laptop there and start doing some of my work for my master's in some of these courses. So that would kind of go on from, I'd say, January up until May. And then I'd kind of wind away from that and
hang in there.
And then once training camp rolls around, I was already, I was already been working out towards that time, but that usually May to kind of really dial in, and then that'd be kind of the time where the training camp would roll around.
Yeah, fair enough. So, if we go that January to May timeframe, on a weekly basis, how many hours were you, working towards that post football teaching career?
It's tough to say. With courses, I think it was I'd say 12 to 15 credit hours a week.
Yeah.
Just that's pretty typical for any university. That's where you're looking at. So that's kind of the timeline I was looking at as far as course load goes.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, is I was able to at least work on that while I was necessarily at the school at times during lunch breaks. When I had my laptop with me, I was able to, buckle down, and, I was already in an academic environment, so might as well put myself to use while I'm there.
Fair enough. So you've got that time frame going through. And this question, is meant to, if you want to respond to it, you can. If you want to sort of walk around it, you can. And it's all about, being a player and having a certain level of income coming in through the year, and then all of a sudden getting a cold start. And a lot of players, we know a lot of pro athletes experience financial troubles, if not bankruptcy, within that 3 to 5 years, because there's that drop off in income here. Tell me, how you managed to take care of that altering cash flow from pro ball to teaching.
I think that's one of the biggest things is preparation, and knowing necessarily that you're not going to be making this income for the rest of your life. This is something that's short-lived. This is a blessing that you're being able to experience for a short amount of time. So preparation should start from your first year, as far as knowing how long this could last you after the fact of, okay, what kind of job can I get after I'm done playing, and how quick can I get this job, and how much would this job be paying, so that you're not experiencing